So consistency, you have to constantly do new projects. You have to constantly keep yourself on track. So all these things has opened doors for me, so much doors that I never thought when I was studying zoology and I was asking the question, what can I do with my zoology degree? What can I do with my degree? It has opened doors of international conferences. I've spoken to people that I never dreamed that I'm going to meet physically, face to face, and I've interacted. I've been on podium that I never thought I'm going to. Well, maybe I should not use the word I never thought, but it's not something that I thought the pathway is going to give me like that. I've got into fully funded travel scholarships. I've gotten research opportunities and collaboration with my bioinformatics skills. My master interview was like, what have you done? Because once they hear from you from zoology, what's bring you to bioinformatics? What have you done? And by the time I opened my mouth to start telling them the things um I've done, itself speak. And of course, there is evidence, and the way I presented my project shows that I did it myself. And also, PhD offer, I've just because of my bioinformatics skills, I will not say much more than that for now on the PhD offer with my bioinformatics skills. So the most question you can be asking is, how can I get into bioinformatics? Or can my background, with my background, can I get into bioinformatics? Probably that's not the question you should be asking. The question is, how can you get into bioinformatics? Because as long as you are in life sciences or even computer science background, you can do bioinformatics. You can find a place. So you don't always have to move from whatever field you are to major in bioinformatics. There's always application of bioinformatics in any field you have, and applying that bioinformatics skills will make a difference in whatsoever you're doing in the area you find yourself. So as a wet lab scientist, you can also have a bioinformatics skills. But if you feel that, oh yeah, there are people who are full-time bioinformaticians, like me, you can also become a bioinformatician in that area. So I'll just run through some field that wherever you are currently, you can apply your bioinformatics skills in. Then I would say that biology is no longer only for or only a wet lab microscope science. It has evolved into an information technology field. So in the future, the most valuable scientists will be those that can navigate both disciplines simultaneously. So while you are trying to say you are a wet lab scientist, you can also try to get some wet lab skills. At most, you might not be doing everything yourself if you become a PI or wherever you find yourself, but you have knowledge of what your data, your bioinformatician is doing, and you can also query, you have the complete understanding. It's not just like you give them your output, your sequence outputs, and this is what they give you, and you don't understand anything about it at all. So there is the most competitive people are those that also could have in your field, of course, you make you more competitive. This is Professor Bastian. I met him at my last conference, and I'm so inspired because he studies zoology and is currently an associate professor of zoology. And what he does is to collate my vertebrate microRNA genes and compare them to that of human. And he's currently the founder of MRAG database, which even clinicians use to annotate their mRNA, microRNA rather. So this is I will not be going into details of this because of the time, but these are areas that if you're a zoologist and you feel like, okay, you love this field, and you don't want to go out of the field, you can still learn bioinformatics and apply um bioinformatics into what you're doing currently. And um so interesting that zoology also can be used in medicine. Sorry, can be used in medicine, but people do comparative genomics, zebra, fish, is basically most times used for some what's it called now? Lab lab experiments for humans, like because I think they have similarities and mouse experiments. So if you are working on that, or people that are working on that generate data sets and they need bioinformaticians to help them analyze all this thing in also evolutionary biology and others. If you're in agriculture, this is Dr. Ignacy, and he developed an an algorithm basically for large-scale genetic and genomic evaluation of livestock. People nowadays do GWAS studies, genome-wide association studies on to pick which traits, to know which traits and how they interact to each other to what they mean to, for instance, milk composition. What trait is responsible for milk composition and for even the resistance of a particular livestock to eat, and how can they um, optimize that trait or edit that trait, and that's where CRISPR comes into place. So all these things there are better ways, there are application of bioinformatics in every field that you are currently in. For instance, if you are working in agriculture and yours is into plant, there are soil metagenomics that helps you know the content of the organisms of soil and how you can calibrate that to know the exact plants that will work in that particular soil you are using. And this is Dr. Shushma, and this is me. This is Juwon. We met her during our last conference, and she's currently the founder of Plant Reactome. She's a system biologist and bioinformatician, and she is a botanist, and what she does is she maps information flow from she studies how information flow from living plants and understand how it's related to their evolutionary changes. And most interestingly, she's currently a member of NASA Space Biology Working Group. You would wonder how botany, one of courses that are despised in. I saw one what's it called clip recently despising botany graduate, and this is a botanist who is currently a member of NASA Space Biology, and she was so much interested in our work anyway because it's related to plant. So it's more of exposure of what you have, what can you use it to do, how can you translate it, and you can become better even more than you can what you have. If you have the right knowledge, it can become an instrument that can make you top of your career even more than those in the professional courses. Yeah, they can become successful, they can become, but what I'm trying to say is that you can also become that even with what you have if you know how to apply bioinformatics or any other information that is currently available to your current career. So you can become a plant system analyst, agricultural bioinformatician, crop improvement researcher, and all that. If you're in biochemistry, this is my supervisor. He did his undergraduate in biochemistry, and one of he's one of the 100th time world most influential people. So if you're in bioinformatics and if you're in biochemistry or even pharmacy, you might be interested in structural biology, vaccine development, and how you can um, discover new drugs for maybe resistant genes or even novel disease is not yet existing. You can become a computational biochemist and model drugs. So still my supervisor from biochemistry, you can see that he moved totally to microbiology, and currently he works in genomic epidemiology and tracking disease outbreak. So as a microbiologist, and you want to do bioinformatics, we have database like Nesttrain, which was so much important during COVID-19. GISED, although they have a lot of data that is sitting there waiting for bioinformatician to analyze. You can use it to get genomic insights, how disease, how infections travel from one country to the other, from one host to the other in real time. We also have metagenomics, next sequencing, next generation sequencing. Uh, I won't go much into that, but you can check it up. You also have AMR identification. That's for microbiologists. There are a lot of things that you can do. This is just like a capshot of interesting things that if you are in microbiology, you can pick a field and work on projects on these areas. If you are in medicine, maybe you are you are medicine, you're studying medicine currently, or you're in public health. We have interesting people. For instance, this Professor Shegun Fatumo, although he studied computer science as his undergraduate, he's currently a bioinformatician and he works in disease risk profiling, particularly GWAS and polygenic risk scores. Currently, he focused on kidney diseases, and he's doing so much well from I think UK. And this is Professor Olusegun Alatishe. Also, he's the founder of African Oncology Research Group in OAU in Ife, and he's doing so much work in colorectal cancer. I read a lot of his paper recently. He's a surgeon to say, and he's also, though he's through collaboration, but he's also working in a lot of collaborative work in oncology. So you can also do it in disease evolution mechanism, machine learning, spatial transcriptomics, and all that. Wherever field you have, the bottom line is that there is application of genomics to bioinformatics to anything you are doing. And you could see that some of these people are not from bioinformatics background. The Professor Fatima is from computer science and is now a bioinformatician. So what do you need now to become a bioinformatician? I divided it into two. First is your soft skill roadmap. The second is your technical skill. What matters most at the start? I'm going to start with soft skill because I think that's the basics, that's the background of everything that's like the foundation. Are you curious about biology and data? Curiosity. When you hear about biology and data, does it fascinate you? Because you have to do what you love to do, not just bioinformatics, the buzzword. Everybody's saying bioinformatics. You will get weary at some point. But do you love biology and data itself? If no, go and explore. Go and read paper, and see if it interests you. If yes, then are you willing to learn? Are you willing to ask questions every time? Because many people have come to me and say that I want to learn I want to learn bioinformatics, but along the way, they they get out. Maybe after 2 or 3 classes, they get out. Why? Because they are just curious about bioinformatics and they don't know what it takes. And that moves to consistency. Bioinformatics is not something that you do within a course and you've become a bioinformatician. You have to practice every time. You have to practice every day, and you have to have problem solving skills. One of the things that made people to run away so quickly is because of they encounter problems. I mean, real problems. It's even better now with ChatGPT, but even with ChatGPT, you are going to do some work that days you are trying to figure it out. Are you going to stay true? That's anything has to do with coding, and even biology is so much more interesting because this time around you are not just dealing with straightforward thing. This is a complex this thing that you have to ask questions and stay true to whatever you're doing. Then the practical exposure of the thing too. Akbari exposed me to a lot of things, exposed me to a lot of projects that made me the person who I am today. You have to be able to join internship, hackathons, get exposure because in this part of the world, Africa, particularly even other countries, information does not come to meet you. You have to explore it yourself. Then teamwork and mentorship, which I've mentioned the other time, you have to be willing to be mentored. There are a lot of things that you don't know even after several years of experience, you still have to ask questions. Then you have to build projects. It's still under soft skills and not just certificates. So many people are crazy about certificates. I just finished this course, threw it on LinkedIn, add it on their CV, but it does not work like that on in bioinformatics. People want to see what you've built. Uh, I didn't talk about it when I was mentioning my master's interview and PhD. What I pitched was most times was the projects that I've done. I remember in my PhD interview, I had like three projects that I pitched, and funny enough, one of the prof had worked on the data set that I used, and it was like, do you know the reason why I'm asking this question? It was because I've worked on this data set, and wow, I was so happy that I was not saying rubbish on that. So you will pitch your projects, interesting projects, and that's what you show that you've really learned. Some of them we have for GitHub repos, and after you've done all these things, the question is start, or the conclusion is just start. Any other question you have will follow. Then on the technical skill, I will ask, what is your background? If you are into computer science, that means you have programming skills already. You have maths, you have knowledge of maths. That's an assumption. Not every computer science student like maths. And you have knowledge about algorithms, which you are going to need in bioinformatics. Then what you need to do is to learn biology. You have to learn molecular biology, cell biology, and genetics. Then if you are from biology or biochemistry, that means you understand genetics, you have some wet lab experience, and you understand molecules, RNA, DNA, and all that, their interaction, the molecular dogma. You have to learn how to code your Python on R at the beginning, then Linux. I'm not saying Python R or Linux. I'm saying Python or R and Linux and the command line basis. Then if you are from medicine and zoology, that means you have clinical background, anatomy, ecology. All these things are advantage, or every field that you're coming from. So it's like you have a domain knowledge as a general specific, then you are trying, because bioinformatics is like bringing three different fields or even more together. So you have at each angle you are coming from, you have to learn others. So if you're medicine, that means you have to learn both. You have to learn coding, you have to learn omics concepts, you have to learn genomics, statistics. But your advantage is that you understand how this works in the clinics. Like you have had one-on-one interactions with patients. You if you're talking about biomarker discovery, because one of my last workshop I found out that some medical doctors were there, and they understand some of these concepts when I talk about it on patient outcomes better than the people just from biology background. So every field you're coming from is an advantage for you. After then, if you have learned all these things, you have to decide, do you want to continue with bioinformatics? If no, well, that's fine. The knowledge you've learned is still valuable. You can check out and continue with your web development, your biology, or even go to outside the field entirely. But if yes, then you have to pick a domain. Uh, Bioinformatics is very broad. People come and say, I want to learn bioinformatics. What aspect of bioinformatics do you want to learn? It's not just, it's, you cannot learn everything about bioinformatics. For instance, you've seen the people that have shown that they have a domain around what they are doing. Isn't metagenomics you have to learn? Yeah, you can learn one or two different of domain, but don't try to learn everything at the same time. Is it computational and in silico drug design that you want to learn? Is it genomics? Is it transcriptomics? And each of these also have their own subdomain that you have to pick. But at first, you can just pick a general domain and learn about it and some application of it. Then during those period, after you picked, that means you already have your Linux skill, Python skill, statistics, which is very, very important. You also have to have knowledge about database. All these things, you don't have to learn it at once. You can pick it one after the other. Then when you are doing project, for instance, most times nobody will teach you Outbound does. We teach you about how to explore by databases to download data set. But most courses won't teach you. They'll just say, go and get data from this database and analyze. You have to learn how to explore the NCBI database, the GISED, the NextTrain, and some other one, depending on what domain you've picked. Is it in cancer genomics that you want to do? So the visualization we did, Akbar did data visualization internship in January, biological interpretation. These are technical skills that you have to build, but you don't have to build it at once, right? It's something that you build when you start a project. Then finally, you build a core technical, sorry, you build a portfolio, and that could only happen when you work on public data sets, and you contribute to open projects, you sign up for internship that allow you to work on um, project that is real world and real life project that can simulate real life project and you can submit it. So these are the overview of the roadmap, what I call the technical skills roadmap, and you already have seen the soft skill roadmap. In a nutshell, you have to you should focus on applied ability, not just I am a bioinformatician. What can you do? You have to learn the basics, you have to work on real data, and you have to get um, real evidence of what you're doing. And one of it is pushing your project to GitHub for employers or PI to showcase, right? So in just as an emphasis, build projects, not just certificates. And for the obtain time, that's where Agbaro comes in. AgBio gives you avenue to, before you can even get promoted to the next stage, you have to submit your GitHub repo. And most times, even me, when I'm working on projects, sometimes I forget there are some projects that I've worked on that I forgot to push to GitHub, and sometimes I lose them. So, but it gives you a track record of this is what I've been doing over the years, and you could show it, and anytime you need it, you can always get back to it. So people want to see the projects you've done. People want to see the evidence that you know something, not just the certificate. Yeah, thank you for listening. I'll be willing to take questions. I hope I met up with the time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the speech and for the comments. And thank you also for highlighting AppBio. And we are very, very proud of you also here. Uh,
Thank you.
Thank you for also using our colors everywhere. I'm always happy when people use the green, yeah. Um, I believe, yeah, there are some questions for you. So there's Ezra Gutby, but before Ezra, Angel Ricardo Casanova Kokum. That's a very long name. Has a question for you, but I guess you kind of answered it while you were talking, which is, hi, I'm
Okay.
studying medicine, but I found I'm interested in bioinformatics. Could it be possible for me to go in this branch, given his medicine background?
Yes, absolutely. I mentioned Professor Alatishe, who is currently the director of, he's a surgeon, I mean, a renowned surgeon, and what he's currently focused on is colorectal cancer. And I read some of his paper. I saw a lot of things he is doing in that field, and they are related. They are even much of bioinformatics. So most times, if you work on molecular biology, you cannot separate molecular biology from bioinformatics. So it's very interesting that it's an advantage on your part. You have access um, maybe depending on where you are currently, you have access to maybe samples you can but what you have to do is to learn the skills that I've mentioned first, then pick a field, a domain. Do you want to do cancer oncology? Do you want to do infectious disease? Do you want to do any field that you want to do, and you want to, if you're a surgeon, or you are, there's a pediatric pipeline that you can focus on. And as a bioinformatician, you're just working on pediatric data sets. So you have to pick a domain and determine what you want to do first, then the skills. So it's absolutely possible for you to go in that line.
Okay. Ankel, I hope your question was answered. Yeah, and I think the key point is focus, right? So you can't really be everywhere. So you have to. I mean, I was even surprised to hear that even within medicine, like you have to even if you like as a bioinformatician, you can even just pick pediatric focus and
Yeah.
interesting. To everyone on the call, if you so Temitope showed us a flow chart of decision steps along different steps in bioinformatics. If you want to transition into bioinformatics, interestingly, we also just released a career path assessment guide that you can simply click yes, no, your strengths, and then we provide a full-blown assessment of your current skill set and where we think you need to level up. And of course, we also provide we also recommend some courses on ArcBio for you to take to kind of fill up these gaps, right? And so for now, okay, so one more thing. Before I go to the next person, I would also share one of the foundational courses that we have at ArcBio. We don't call it a course, we call it a pathway. Um, because the point of pathway is because sometimes courses are not they are like one time thing, right? But is usually designed around a career path and all the basic skill sets, or not just basic but essential. Because if you look at a job description, basically that's how we do it. We look at the job description, and this particular job description, this title is consistently mentioned, right? You have to learn Python, you have to learn R, you have to learn Linux, you have to learn whole genome sequencing, like Temitope mentioned. We now build a pathway that is a compilation of courses that are linked to each other. And then you just come on ArcBio and you learn. And you are basically equipped for that career path. That's like our goal at ArcBio. And I dropped the link on the chat as well if you want to follow up on that. I'll go to Ezra before I come to Akinlaw. Ezra, if you want to unmute, your hand has been raised.
Thank you so much for this amazing opportunity. The webinar was really helpful.
You're welcome.
I have a question about what are the industry looking like for Africans? For instance, I notice a lot of job posting and internship, and overall, the market is more booming in the US, for instance, but I don't know what opportunities are available for Africans. For example, I have a zoology background and hoping to specialize in genetics, and I am learning by myself, but I don't know what options are available for me because, as we know, a lot of people have visa problems, for example, in the US. So, what are the options, whether for academia or industry? How, what trends did you notice? Thank you so much.
All right. I'm glad you are here because I think we have passion. But for instance, first let me ask you, where are you from?
So I did not allow people to just talk to avoid some of the issues that were
Okay.
in the past.
Yeah.
I would unmute her now.
I am from Sudan.
Okay. No. So I'm also I like you I've mentioned I'm from zoology background and I loved genetics. I did my undergraduate project in genetics. I extracted the chromosomes from African giant rat and musculus. And it's so much fascinating for me to be looking at chromosomes under the microscope, counting it. I think that's one of the reasons why I really loved the science. So to your question, it's true that Africa is far behind in terms of um, the opportunities. But the truth is, their opportunities are becoming available over the time. It might not be that much. And I feel that in the future, the problem would be that there are opportunities and there are nobody to fill them in. There are no Africans well trained to fill them in because I don't want to say a lot of things, but even we have a lot of institutions right now in Africa. We have we have the Pasteur Institute in Tunisia, we have Institute of Genomics, and most times what they lack hands-on African scientists that really know these things, that are well trained, and some of them try to either send people abroad to learn and come back, or recruit white people to come and do the work for them here, right? For instance, my co-supervisor she's from South Africa and she's very, very good, right? So it's a matter of preparing yourself. I believe the future is going towards molecular biology, going towards genomics. You can see that there is an outbreak recently, and the tracking itself, or the major tracking is through molecular biology, the molecular evolution to track it and even to attack it. And we need they there are bioinformatics right on ground to analyze the data set they are sequencing. So if you are very good at what you are doing, there are still very few people that have the exact skill. I mean, that know the core of bioinformatics, and I believe there will be more opportunities of such. Do I answer your question?
Yes, thank you so much. That was really inspiring and hopeful because
Yeah.
I felt lost.
If I can also add to that, in terms of, how do I say, what I've seen in terms of specializations. So in Africa, maybe things like AI is not yet a big deal as far as biotech is concerned, but human genomics, infectious diseases, these two, they are hot topics right now. I'm not really into plants, but I heard that there are some projects also on food security that where they are trying to optimize some of they are trying to use genetic techniques to optimize the yield. But you know this issue with food, there is always this issue around ethics, blah 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 blah, which I really don't care about. But it people that are not into science always want to care about it, and GMOs, blah blah blah. Okay, but for human genetics, treating cancers, drug development, yeah, and infectious diseases. Infectious diseases is still a hot topic. The Bill and Melinda Gates are constantly funding it. African CDC is really interested in it. So yeah, I think these are like topics that maybe not industry, but academic institutions are opening up to, and a lot of funders are in this space also. So yeah, uh,
Thank you. I will definitely check them out.
yeah. So guys, we are trying as much as possible to close by 6 p.m. We know there is something for those that watch football. There is a football match coming up, but for now, we try to take as much questions as possible. Okay, before I go to Emmanuel, I will take Akinlaw, where it says, it's a long text. I'm curious to know how you can select creating projects that aren't outdated or overdone. How do you create something unique and not so similar to everyone? And regarding AgBio and the requirements of creating a project, wouldn't almost everyone have the same project? How is it then uniquely yours? And lastly, you mentioned coding. Is there any point to learn R or Linux if AI can do the majority of coding? And the real lastly now. That's like three questions now. What systems requirements is reasonable for you to run a bioinformatics project? I have had analysis taking close to 3 hours overnight before getting results. Thank you. Maybe I should break it down for you. So let's start with how do you select projects that aren't outdated or overdone?
Um, is that question for me or for Agbao?
Okay, if it's for ArcBio, so typically we have, so here's the thing. We we always have team projects, right? And maybe 4 or 5 people have done it. And every internship or every cohort, we try to recycle, we try to change the project, and we try to think of projects based on recent data. So even if everybody in the world has access to the data, Not everybody in the world is going to use it in the same way we are using it. We always also change context. And also we try to also give you sometimes we put a kind of caveat where you are the one who ultimately decides what's interesting to you. For example, also in our genomics data genomics course pathway, which I shared, we have data sets for plant science, we have data sets for animal science, we have data sets for microbes. So we also have for humans. So it's up to you to also pick. Whether it's going to be unique or not unique, I think in the end, except you want to make a publication out of it, then you have to think of something really, really, really unique. But if the goal is for showcasing your skill set, which is like the minimum requirement for applying for any job or for getting a position, just showing the skill set. I mean, nothing is really new in the end, eh? But you can also try to be innovative around it. You can always think about new things. As long as you are a biologist, you can bring context to it. You can bring new things to it. You can think about it. You can apply it in your own way, right? So yeah, it's a mix of we trying to constantly keep ourselves new because we are also scientists at that, but it's not as if we just had bioinformatics in the sky and we are happy about it. So it's about we trying to make things new, trying to make it as variable as possible, and then you also bringing in your innovation, your area of specialization, bringing in those things, right? The second part, is there any point to learning R or Linux if AI can do majority of the coding?
Okay. Yes, there is a lot of yes in it because you have to understand the what it's not like website development, web development that once you have your website, that's all. You have to understand what AI is doing. And I think you've been seeing a lot of ChatGPT clips where you ask ChatGPT to put chicken on your this thing and you went to go and fry. I don't know if you've seen any of that. You cannot you cannot completely trust AI. So while you are trying to use AI to do the mundane tasks, maybe you want to do some repetitive tasks or even to write the code sometimes, you have to you have to be able to read the code that this is what the code is actually doing what you want to do. Because if you don't understand, it will give you the wrong answer. And most times it's easier when you understand the code. There was a time my supervisor asked me to use GG3. And because I know how to use R, I just asked AI to come up with this thing. And I ended up becoming frustrated because it was doing I was just asking, this is not what I asked you to do. I know what I want. And I spent a whole day trying to get it until I went back to the documentation. I read the documentation and it was so much easier because I understood that, oh, this is what this means, this is what this means, and I was able to say, okay, this is what you should do specifically. So it cannot be outdated that you should learn how to code. You have to learn how to code. And I won't say more than that.
Yeah. By the way, tokens are not expensive and OpenAI. So you have to be careful. Um, yeah, so the third part, this question is taking a lot of our time. We try to be fast. I have heard of analysis taking close to 3 hours. So what is the system's requirement? I think
Well,
specification.
well, there is basic minimum, but whether you are using a HPC, there will still be analysis that will take more than 3 hours. I
Yeah.
think we were working on one that was taking more than weeks. So it depends on the analysis you are doing. If you are trying to do Bayesian analysis now in value dynamics, it can take you weeks. So it depends on that. But if you are talking about maybe basic requirements, I think if you have Windows, if you have, is it 16 gig RAM now? And basic requirement, it should not just, I don't know the exact requirement, but at
Yeah.
least your system should be able to install R, should be able to install, if you're
Exactly.
using Windows, install Ubuntu without crashing. If you can do that and it has enough space to install some of those tools, So I don't know the basic requirements. Maybe Wally can answer that.
Yeah, I think nobody can tell you to go and buy a gaming PC because it never really ends. There is no ceiling to what you can do. You might start with basic genome data sequencing today, and then, well, maybe you put 1 terabyte on it, but then when you want to work on some bigger projects, a single human genome is 3 gigabytes. Now, if you just put 100 people on that, that's 3 terabytes already. So sorry about that. So there is no ceiling, but I would say for a start and for beginning in your career, your regular computer is enough. Just have 500 gig space. What else? 16 gig RAM, 32 gig RAM, up to you, whatever you can afford. The most important point is you can start. You can always code on any computer. We'll try and take one more. Emmanuel Akpan. I saw that the Juwon was also raising his hand. I don't know if we have time after Emmanuel, then we ask allow him. But yeah, Emmanuel.
Yes, good evening, and thank you very much for allowing me. Um, I'm so excited because listening to you simply means there's still hope. I did HND chemistry, BSc biochemistry. Along the line, they were offering 10 naira for a job, so I had to go into other parts like telecoms, fintech, and I'm an operations assurance expert. Okay. So at some point, I get fed up with sciences because, I did the first degree, second degree. It was just like, regurgitating what was written somewhere and trying to do it in the lab. And I'm like, hey, if I must do something, I'm a person that if I must do something, it should be different from what everyone is doing. So I gave up. So friends called me up that I need to try again, maybe outside Nigeria. So I've been learning data analytics, the very basics. So and if I want to go into science again, if you're not talking about numbers, money, what product can we, push out there? I don't think I'm interested. Probably because of my experiences in the private sector and all of that. So now my question is this: if I'm to come back to sciences, biochemistry for me, now, how do I deal with tech to make sure that tech is part of it without me necessarily going to the table, start doing some bench work and all of that? And what are the basic requirements? There's a knowledge gap now. I'm very sure of that. There's knowledge gap. There are things I do not know now. So what would you advise me to do such that once I get out there, I'll be able to, be prepared and make sure that my basics of biochemistry, and I'll have to bring tech into what I'm doing and not necessarily being on the bench, carrying out practicals. That's my question, really.
Yeah, it's such an inspiring question. And I'm glad that you still have passion for science. Like I mentioned from the beginning that some of us had passion for science and we wanted to stay in science. But if you are coming, first is that you are not coming for the money immediately because researchers are not that very rich. But if you have passion for it and there's a way you can, especially bioinformatics, the joy of bioinformatics, like my supervisor normally says that you don't have to be in the lab and be working. You can She's in South Africa and she's working for Institute of Genomics and Global Health, and she's doing her job very well. So you can still be in the field that you're doing and be updating your skills in biochemistry and be doing real project, be pushing out project. But the first thing you have to ask yourself is, what level are you currently at? You have to evaluate yourself first to know the direction. You can see the chart that I showed that I basically, it's like a flow chart that you have to answer the question. Do you have knowledge about genomics, transcriptomics? Like, are your knowledge still fresh? If they are not fresh, you have to go and pick up omics, all the omics, transcriptomics, all of the omics and learn about them first. Then I guess probably you have data analysis skills now, data science skills. There is data science for biologists, not just the general one. Yeah, the knowledge will be transferable, but there is the way you apply it might be a little bit different, maybe just a little bit different. And it will be very interesting for you that you can, with your knowledge, with your resources, you are not depending on it for money at this stage. You can build interest. There are projects that you can build using public data sets. There are a lot of public data sets waiting for people to use, to analyze, and to use it to build real-time projects. So I would advise you to first evaluate yourself. What do you want to learn based on, if you are early enough, based on what I've said, what do you have to learn from this pipeline? Is it statistics? Is it biology? Well, what are you currently at? Then you can go from there to looking for data set that you can apply those skills and build real projects. There are a lot of problems in Africa, in Nigeria, waiting for people to solve, and your skills might be useful in that arena. Thank you. I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, just to add, I would say for any project thought that you might have in mind, the most important thing is what do you want to solve, right? Your question is very important. Very, very important. If you don't have a good, I mean, you're already in the industry, so you know that if you don't have a problem that is of importance to people, then you just can forget about it. So you have to think of really, really good problems. Either you really want to cure something, or you want to treat something, or you want to provide a test kit for making something happen, or you want to make it easier for companies to, I mean, big pharma and all of that. So you are doing something like a software as a service for them, where they don't have to go through all of the stress that you typically go through, and they just drop it in and it's done. There's also a lot of interest in AI agents for biotech and bioinformatics in general now, so you can also develop products in that region. So yeah, it's all about the problem if you are already in the product line, right? So I would encourage you to think carefully about that. And validation. So if you are really developing things that will be used on humans in the end, validation takes time in biology. Validation takes time. Before you validate it for clinical use, you would go through a lot of regulatory hurdles. But if you are developing a software that doesn't harm anybody, yeah, it's fast. So basically, that would be my addition to that. I think that would be our last question, and we would like to appreciate everybody who joined. I didn't imagine we would even have up to 10 people in the beginning. Yeah, but I really appreciate everybody for joining, and hopefully the information passed across here was able to inspire you. We would share the recording with you guys over time. Maybe from Monday, we would share, and we would see if you also we would also share some of the links that we shared. So if you want to assess your skill sets, if you want to also start already learning, right, in a practical way, you want to get project evidences, we'll send the right links to you, and then you can take off from there. Thank you once again, everybody, and thank you, Temitope, for sharing your story. It's been inspiring. I think a lot of people were motivated, and yeah, that's why someone had a full-blown paragraph of questions for you. Yeah. Yeah, thanks a lot, and bye, everybody.